Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rogers Kakasungura YouTube channel. The only way, as I say, you can support Kakasungura is by clicking the subscribe button and turning on your notification bell. Kenyans, listen to me. Today, I have done several pages of analysis on what is happening currently in the Republic of Kenya. So let's for a moment stop being drunk and be sober just for 15 minutes or so. I explain to you a very crucial point here that will help you in your life forward. If you are asleep, if you are eating, if you are drinking, if you are working, I am just requesting for your 20 minutes, 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I tell you something here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is proven beyond reasonable doubt that yes, the jet William Ruto used to the USA state visit costed 200 million. A documentary done by the KTN News from the company, it stamped authority on the figures. The Standard contacted the company that provided the jet, and the figures rhymed exactly to those of William Ruto. That means it is something that has been proven beyond reasonable doubt. After an uproar from Kenyans, Ruto publicly said, and he posted on his accounts and said, actually, when Kenyans were asking him why he refused to use the Kenya Airways and opted to hire a jet from the Arabs, Ruto categorically stated and said, in fact, KQ could have been more expensive as compared to the private jets. That's what he said actually. All of you read that post? And he said if I was to use KQ, it could have costed more than 200 million. So hiring a private jet at 200 million, that was the cheapest. That's what William Ruto said. After saying that, it proved that yes, Ruto admitted of spending 200 million to hire a private jet. That was a personal admission. No one forced him to admit. He himself wrote. So he admitted that yes, hata kama Wakenya wanasema nilitumia 200 million, yes, I used it, but that was the cheapest. This statement also landed Ruto in more trouble. Kenyans started questioning Ruto. Why are you discrediting our very own airlines that are globally trusted and that are being praised as the pride of Africa? Why could you, as the president, campaign against our very own airlines? As the president, you should protect our airlines. Going into the public and announcing that KQ is expensive as compared to the private jets, that is malicious and killing our very own pride of Africa. So it's like Ruto noticed he has done a mistake. Now yesterday, at the prayer breakfast that was being held at Safari Park Hotel, Ruto quickly changed the tune again. And he said, his friends contributed money and topped up to Kenya's transport that was less than 10 million to have the private jet. Sasa amebadilisha tune tena. KQ is no longer expensive. It's no longer 200 million, which he had already admitted. He is now saying, marafiki zake walichanga wakamlipia ndege. Can we listen to this video clip?
When I saw the debate in Kenya as to how I traveled to the US. You know? And there was, all manner of figures, this plane is this big and it is like this, Google here, Google there. This one must have costed 200 million because the president needed to arrive in style in the US, holding Rachel's hand. I am a very responsible steward. Believe you me. There is no way I can spend 200 million. There is no way. In fact, let me disclose here that it costed the Republic of Kenya less than 10 million. When I was told the cheapest plane was 70 million, I told my office, go book Kenya Airways. Yeah? So when some friends of mine heard that I was going to travel Kenya Airways, and we have built a big reputation as a country. We have built friends. Some friends told me, how much do you want to pay? I said, I'm not ready to pay more than 20 million. They said, bring 10 million, we will give you the plane. Look at me, Kenyans. Look at me again. I must lead from the front. As I tell others to tighten up their belt, mine must be where to begin. So relax, and the debate must end because I am that responsible. And it is going to be that way. We're going to make sure that we tighten up our belts, we live within our means. In fact, my plan is that in 3 years, we must have a balanced budget. We cannot continue to have a budget that has a deficit, that before you begin, you have to borrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's now analyze Ruto's sentiments yesterday. Wachana na hiyo imepita. Hiyo akisema KQ ni expensive, nini. But now let's focus on what he said yesterday. From the video clip, Ruto claims that the most expensive plane was to cost 70 million. The most expensive. And he's saying, when he heard of that, he instructed his office to book for him the Kenya Airways. What does the statement mean entirely? This simply means, according to yesterday's statement, KQ could have costed less than 70 million as per Ruto's sentiments. The reason why, but remember, earlier on, Ruto had said 200 million was not enough to book KQ. Because he said if we could have used KQ, the money could have gone above 200 million. Ruto is now changing tune and saying the highest plane to hire was to cost 70 million. But because Ruto could not be able to hire that, he told his office to book KQ, which could have been cheaper than 70 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my simple question. Who is fooling who? Of course, Ruto is fooling Kenyans. Ruto is now claiming that after friends heard he is going to jet on KQ, which was to cost less than 10 million actually, the friends of Ruto came in to support him. There are facts, Kenyans, you must know now. Why I believe all these are lies. Hii ni mauongo ya kutaka to divert public attention. Let me explain to you something very critical. We must understand one fact. The state visit was not a private journey. The state visit was a public journey. Ilikuwa ni safari ya Wakenya. Haikuwa safari ya Ruto. A state visit is official, not private, not personal. Why? Ruto went not to represent Rachel and his children, but to represent Kenyans. So the whole journey wasn't private, but it was a public journey. That said, let's go back to our constitution on how a state officer going for a public occasion should treat gifts given to him. Narudia tena. I want to go back to our Kenyan constitution and try to understand how state officers going for a public occasion such as the USA visit, the USA state visit, how they should be gifted, because our constitution outlines procedures on how a state officer should receive gifts. The money Ruto accepted from friends to use in a public occasion, in brackets, the state visit, is simply a gift. They gifted him. So walimsaidia. Walimbariki. Gifts. So the contribution are gifts given from friends to Ruto in a public occasion, the USA state visit. What does the Constitution say about this? Article 76(1). I want to read how it says. A gift or donation to a state officer, in this case William Ruto, on a public or official occasion such as the USA state visit, is a gift or donation to the Republic and shall be delivered to the state unless exempted under an act of parliament. Narudia hiyo. Sorry. Article 76(1) states that a gift or donation to a state officer, in this case William Ruto, or on a public or official occasion, in this case the USA state visit, is a gift or donation to the Republic and not to Ruto, and shall be delivered to the state and not delivered to Ruto unless exempted under an act of parliament. Now, Section 14 of the Leadership and Integrity Act explains as follows: that a state officer, in this case William Ruto, shall not accept or solicit gifts, hospitality, or other benefits from a person who has an interest that may be achieved by carrying out or not carrying out the state officer's duties, carries on regulated activities that The state officer or the state officer's organization has a role or has a contractual or legal relationship with the state officer organization. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's a few questions I'm asking here. Ruto says friends contributed to his public occasion, which, as per what I've read, is against the leadership and integrity code of conduct. Yeah. Now, the simple question a Kenyan should ask is this: the friends who contributed to Ruto's jet, what interest do they have to the Republic of Kenya? Wako na matarajio gani? Marafiki wamekuja pamoja, wamechangia Ruto pesa. Hawa marafiki wanatoka Arabs, because si wa Kenya. Wanatoka huko Uarabuni. What interest do these Arabs have towards businesses with the state? Sijui kama mnanielewa. Nisome hapa tena. Kuna kitu hapa nataka muelewe. Listen. Section 14 of the Leadership and Integrity Act. Kuna mahali hapo inasema hivi: a state officer shall not accept or solicit gifts, hospitality, or other benefit from a person who has an interest. Now the question is, these people contributing for Ruto's jet, wako na interest gani kwa biashara za Kenya? I want to take you back a little bit. We all know, and it's in the public domain, that the Kenya Kwanza government has announced that it's planning to buy a new jet to replace the one that was bought by Moi decades ago, that has been outdated and it's expensive to service, as the state had explained earlier on why Ruto could not use the Kenya Airways, the KQ. Sawa sawa. Now, kuna swali nimekuwa nikijiuliza. Could it be that the company which the state had approached for that business decided to provide a jet to William Ruto just for Ruto to have a test of the plane before they purchase, which is against the Constitution, because it says any state officer should not accept gifts of more than 20,000 from a person who has interest. There's a question I'm asking here. Could it be that the company which provided for the private jet had an interest of providing the jet that the state was planning to buy so that Ruto can have a test before purchase? Nirudie kwa Kiswahili. Yaani, huenda kampuni ambayo Ruto wangeenda kununua hiyo ndege iliamua kupatia Ruto ndege ili asikie kwanza, so that he can have a test of the plane before Kenya purchases, which is against the Constitution, which states that a state officer should not receive gifts from the person who has interest. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just thinking aloud. Now, if Ruto did that, Ruto decided to receive gifts against our Constitution. Ruto decided to receive gifts against the Leadership and Integrity Code of Conduct 2012. Ruto decided to receive gifts from a company that could be having interest in Kenya, which is against our Kenyan Constitution. What are the legal consequences of such? The Constitution is very clear. A state officer is not supposed to receive gifts that exceed 20,000 shillings. And if he receives, those gifts should be surrendered to the state or to the EACC. But Ruto, but Ruto decided to receive millions of shillings as a gift towards his public occasion to the USA. What are the legal consequences? It's critical clear that Ruto has breached our constitution, Article 76(1). Ruto has breached the Leadership and Integrity Code of Conduct 2012, and so Ruto should be summoned and subjected into a disciplinary action and be forced to surrender those millions to the state or to the EACC for further interrogations. No one is above the law. If we are in Kenya, the law should treat us equally. When Cleophas Malala gifted by that time CJ Maraga some goats, Maraga publicly told him, "No, young man, I am not allowed to receive gifts." Why? It's against the constitution of Kenya, because you have a case in court. That means you have an interest. The same way, Ruto could have rejected those gifts, because those gifting him must have business interest with the Republic of Kenya. That is against the constitution, and it amounts to a serious penalties. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the next video. Asanteni sana.